What was COVID-19? This is a statement. It's coming in right now with our crew of angels that have just cleared the final prison system, handler system of the enslavement of the human race through Masonic rule and timeline replication. This is an ascension of the human race. This is not a normal lifetime. This has never been a normal lifetime. Each one of us here that are walking this plane are here to heal what came before us the last million years. In your mind, you think there's time. This is something that the 1% always knew there was not, because they had been energetically manipulating you and your DNA and the entire family lines of your DNA for thousands of years. This is why it's a time of peace, because we are on this planet to do one thing and to do one thing only at this point, to move forward. And it is to heal and to understand and to forgive and to have compassion for all that had happened throughout your family lines. You cannot move forward into anything of a new world or a new dimension until you do these things, or else it will stick you and traumatize you and take you back into timelines to repeat it. No matter, but you've been healed, and the energetic of this planet has been healed. The top 1% knew. The top 1% and what you would call in the old energy the Illuminati, I call them the riggers. When you rule the world with Masonic rule and blood sacrifices and skull and bones, then you lose your heart. You lose your compassion. You lose your sense of humanity throughout the entire race of beings. And this goes back to races of star races, DNA races. This goes back to white races, yellow races, red races. This is why those circles of root races even exist. There is not one race. There is not one skin tone. There is not one family. There is not one star race that has ever come to this plane that did not incur some type of karma for one reason or another, and all of them catastrophic, horrible events. Understand that the world that we lived in was run off pain, murder, sexual disruption, because energetically you were all and we were all in a metal ball, and all they had to do was lay timelines and different traumatic events when that calendar of the zodiac comes back around within that energetic. And if you are unconscious, you will follow what came before you, or even your great-great-grandfather, or whatever the heck it was. What was COVID-19? COVID-19 was an attempt to keep us out of the 2000s. Why do you think it was called 19? 01, a reset back. Now I can prove with astronomy, which is not astrology. Astronomy is actually pulling everybody out of a zodiac killer program set up on prison systems, death and murder, so that we all remember and can get back to one, to get going again, which is where we are, which is what is happening to the world, which is exactly what I speak of. This is a procession of the equinoxes. Now, I'm going to say it again. And I've been screaming it since 2017. This is a precession of the equinoxes on Earth. We are in the 3rd year now of the time of peace. In March, when this COVID started, what happened was the whole world shut down. Why? Because each one of you had clear DNA. Everybody on this planet had clear DNA. It was always in the Bible. If you're one that has been conscious, especially since 2017, and all the ones that came before us that held and had to hide because they were conscious their whole lifetimes in this life, and they knew exactly what the hell was going on, but then they had to live among all the mess, knowing that this is why we were here. We were not going to leave any man behind. The divine and universal law set in. And by universal law, none of these things or none of these tragic events or murders or even the killing by lethal injection or any murder, any killing of any being down here was ever by universal law. This entire earthly realm was set up in a machine. And even when you died, you were not making it out. I need everybody to listen to what I'm saying to you. When you died, if you went to the light, you came right back here. And it's even, and it could have been as if you never left. You never went back to source. You never got your full clearing. You never got your life in review. You never got to see all the events that had led up in your life on a learning planet for thousands of years. The emergency calls went out in 1990. The emergency calls from Earth went out in 1990. It's a 36-year procession. All wars that were ever started on this planet, all of them, every single one of them, was in order to get rid or to obtain secret, metaphysical, occult information about spirit, energy, quantum energy, free energy, DNA, and to remind and get rid of all the sigils, all the monuments, all the statues, all the art that would remind all of us what the hell was going on down here on Earth and what was about to come. Where there is massive death on this planet, there became giant portals, which was the sole purpose of the war to begin with. What is COVID-19? What was it and what still is it? You had clear DNA. And it had never been done before on this planet. A planet had never ascended with a human race on it. Typically, we would have an ice age. But because this was all done against everybody's free will down here, and because this was not universal law, spirit, God, source, whatever it is that you want to call it, sent some of us here to make it right. And it was an all holes barred mission to Earth in order to clear the human race. Every single war and every single experiment and every single anything that ever happened to any one of us, then automatically there became a good thing that happened from it. So no matter, every single event that went down in history led us to now to show us what the hell. But immediately that experience opened up a new way to heal the world. Us starseeds that are linked into the hive mind and the telepathy of the original ancients from Sirius and Vega, we had all this consciousness. We came here with it, and we were the first ones being experimented on in order to set all this up. Understand at a deep soul level, we knew it was coming. We signed up to do it. Why did the world stop? Because everybody's DNA, according to the Bible, according to divine law, according to how everything works on a free will learning planet of Earth, everybody was clear. It had never been done before, and the 1% then had a problem. Because this was not what they had intended, then how the heck were they going to control everybody or control humans like they used to? Because there were no longer the events that any of y'all were charged to in order to lead you back into a murderous situation, in order to lead you back into certain situations, unless you continue to sign up for those contracts and those situations. Which we've seen and we're starting to see since the COVID, and since a lot of people just thought, oh crap, we're just going to go back to our original way of living. Now we are seeing it replicate. Fucking stop! See, the problem is all the humans down here don't even realize that this is going on. Because why? You have clean DNA. The only way that you could make moves during the full shutdown of the COVID is if you had ancient DNA and strands that were somehow linked to a part of the events that order had set up. The order had set up in order to take over the human race and put everyone in New World Order. Period. Dot. Where you are, where you live, who you're around, where that's at, it's all trauma events and trauma bonds. It's where you were buried, why our forefathers were so worried about getting burial plots. All of that was for death real estate when this went down. Period. Dot. Your soul will lead you exactly where the event happened to take you out every step of the way. Because the only way to get out is the same way you came in. And if you get charged to that event with any emotion or hate, then you will stay charged to that event as per universal law. On this planet, your soul is not ready to proceed from it. It can't heal. You're still holding resentment. You're still holding grief. You're still holding pain. Why? Because you don't understand why it happened. This is a human experiment down here. It's been going on for 1,000,000 years. I'm not just channeling some perception of some shit that maybe I read in a series of books. No, I walked this for 3 years with 4 different crews of beings, all sent here by Source in order to assist and clear this bitch. And what did everybody do? How many of you have vaccines? It was their only option. Their only option to attempt to run the world the way it used to is to vaccinate you, put mercury in your system, fuck up your clean DNA that all of us sacrificed millions of years to bring in for you. Now, I don't have any judgment on it except for the fact that people don't know it. And don't even blame us for that, because we have done everything that we can in order to get on radio stations, news stations, production stations, traveling all over the world, attempting to get this message out. And it was getting buried. And I command that this message and everybody, the extent that this information was being held down within you seeing it in a video, I command that this video and this information be made available into the consciousness of every human down here right now. If you haven't fully made it out of Ascension, you're in a spiritual war for the next 1,000,000 years of your soul and your family lineages, which is why those of us bonsai starseeds that no holds barred knew there was no other choice in order to get here and to assist, because if their plan would have gone the way they wanted it, one more ride on the merry-go-round, nothing would have been left here. Those of us who have been walking this journey knew from the get-go, no matter where our kid was, no matter who our mama was, no matter how upset anybody was about shit, and even knowing that we were walking out the door and heading into a mission where we were murdered before, we did not have a choice. Because if we don't go and do it, then everybody dies. And that is the truth. Now, we're past that point. We just brought down the entire prison system, handler system that was set up by the Irish a long time ago that had run in freaking Time Lord time codes from prison systems, all on everybody's hate, everybody's greed. What is COVID-19? COVID-19, when everything shut down, was this whole, everyone went to their room, and then there was the visions, the remote viewing, the timelines that went down kept being played. This goes back to the Book of Mormon. This goes back to Joseph. It's linked into John Benet Ramsey and that kidnapping of a being that never dies, that's in a family line, that is hooked into the 9-dimensional aspects of a being that runs on 9 dimensions in order to power the earth, because the earth is alive, it's a living being, all of us work together to produce it, and it makes your human body. The entire collective works in order to make the human body. Do you know how we know? Because we healed your body through healing the earth. And I'm not even talking about laying some crystals somewhere. I'm talking about going into Uluru and the heart of the being that was planted here a long time ago to become your earth and then forgotten about. COVID-19 was basically it was watching and remote viewing from the very top all the shadow aspects of all the beings that were running around on this planet, which we were all dead. and watching and seeing who came around you, where you ended up going, what account did you open, what bank account did you open, what mail did you get, who are the forefathers that are now attaching to you, what did they have, what were their names. The massive scam that has happened over the past 2 years is to the point of fucking insanity. The amount of mimics, clones, doppelgangers were all made in order to come attempt to take what is rightfully yours by your ancestors, but was always manipulated by changing a name and murder. There were always groups of beings of us that would come down here every 10 years. This is the battle of angels and demons that I'm speaking of. And this is the angels that were always making it here, but then because of how timelines and energetics were set, and because everyone down here forgot about spirit, source, God, and because whenever an angel shows up on the ground, no one wants to give that angel any credit for being who it is. That's how they were always delivered back to demons. And then everybody cried about it, didn't do shit about it, but get pissed off, and that's exactly what they wanted from us. Now we know. I don't care if you were the victim or you were the assaulter. You were being utilized in a battery system that this country, especially the United States, but understand that the Europeans and the Australians and the Germans, Finland, Netherlands, they knew all this. That's where the elite sit. They're not here in the United States. Oh, hell no. They weren't going to come here. This is where the battle was. This is how they were attempting to then reestablish timelines that, unfortunately, because of the decisions that some of the souls are making down here, are going to have to go relive in a different way. Regulus moved to Virgo. That's all energy. That has nothing to do with blood. It has nothing to do with pee. It has nothing to do with crap. It has nothing to do with any type of energy in your body. Pharmaceuticals no longer work on you. Pharmaceuticals no longer help you if you are an ascended. Why? Because pharmaceuticals are chemicals that they purposely put in your body to set you up in a machine. Who the fuck do you think owns the pharmaceutical companies? Where is all your money going right now? And where has all your money and your family been going right now? And since COVID-19, paper products, pharmaceuticals, weed, alcohol, and then the government's paying you in order to go buy it. What is that? That's a money laundering system. And it's monopolization of entire industries and sectors of the entire world. Who got rich? Pharmaceutical companies, 3M, medical. Guess what, everybody? Wake the fuck up. You do not die. Especially now. Everybody wants to read the Bible and put it up on such a high pedestal, and look, that's my point. Then why aren't you reading it? Every single bit of what has happened down here on earth is in that astronomy book, which is exactly what the Bible is. And how old are they? That ain't a misprint. You want to believe pieces of something, but then something else doesn't make sense to you, so then you want to distract that from it, but then that's the exact thing that's going to save you. You come down here on Earth and you clean 600 years of karma for your family line. Guess what? You get to live 600 years if you want. Why are people dying from what they say is COVID-19? Because they died in the other timelines. They want to die. They don't want to be here. Nobody's dying from no COVID-19 except for the fact that it's all timeline hacks from Joseph Smith and agents. Legit. If you're dying in a hospital bed or you're dying in your bed, then fucking be grateful that that's where you're dying, because otherwise you'd be getting blown up, your head shot off, you'd be getting stabbed, you'd be getting murdered, you'd be getting locked up in whatever way that it had been done to you before. If you don't want to heal that, and if you want to leave, then we are fine with that, and we wish you all the best. But you are not dying from no bullshit that is, it's DNA. They're capping off your DNA to keep you in a machine, because then they know what your triggers are, and you're going to become like Face Off with metal boots on your feet, pushing some shit around, being a DoorDash deliverer, running some shit in a car. But guess what? Those of us that are ascended, we ain't sticking around for that shit. And when I mean that, I mean it. There's 4 years. 4 years. And I don't even know if it's going to be that long. We have 4 years until we energetically, as this Earth structure, which everyone wants to be on this planet, will go meet your fucking neighbor. Stop acting like it's only about you and yours, because you and yours are going to be in the lower timeline for 1,000,000 years, disconnected from anything that you call source, God, angels. And I'm not joking. Except for the ones that die once you get down there. Once you get down there and this realm splits completely and New Earth completely takes off, then you are going to be only with the dead. Your angels become your angels from what was just happened. You're not going to get any of this information. It will be lost in those lower realms. Why? Because this is a free will planet. And because this is a learning planet. And you will figure it out before you're allowed to move on. You're speaking to one that's been trapped here for 1,000,000 years. Trust me when I tell you. Why do you think it is that I know all of this information? How do you think it is I was able to walk this? Why do you think I've been able to help put it back together? Because I channel all the dead for the past 1,000,000 years that was in this bubble, because I was one left behind before. The energetics of your air and everything down here, how everything is manifest, how your world is manifest, what we call a couch, what we call a purple butterfly, all of that was made in the last 1,000,000 years from energetics of the human race, and all of this working together to manifest, period, dot. What we manifested down here was this fucking nightmare. Period, dot. But it was manipulated. The secrets of you and the secrets of the human, it's not a secret. Why was it? That's my point. COVID-19 was straight up the Doctrine and Covenants. It was the Book of Mormon. If you don't understand that story and Joseph Smith and how he looked ahead and saw what was going on but wouldn't allow anyone else to see, what he had was a twin connection to Christ walking a vector ascension. Joseph Smith and saw the timelines and basically was the eyes of all of us coming out of death. Now here's the problem. The being in this last ascension that actually had the DNA rights to do that sold off all that information to the highest bidder in order to control all the divine children that were walking in this last ascension, which there was a lot of us here. All that information was sold off to the highest bidder within a 1% Scientology group, IRA, gangs. You've been watching it manifest with your Sam Crow, all that bullshit for a really long time. And I'll even say it. Even Jesus sold this out. And I hope it pisses you off. I really do. And there is no Jesus Christ. There is Jesus and then there's Christ energy. Just like there's a Pharaoh and then there's a consciousness. Now, does it mean that Jesus is listening to Christ? Maybe, maybe not. I can tell you the beings that were down here acting like Jesus were definitely not in Christ consciousness. Why? Because the human race put so much on them. Would you want to be Jesus? Jesus, help me. Jesus, come here. Oh, Jesus, this. Oh, Jesus, that. And that's how it works. Those energies that you give and what you hook in, and Jesus is going to save us, and Jesus is going to do this, and Jesus is going to do that. Whoever is the title of Jesus, or the many of us that had been down here coming back as Jesus, but then just getting trapped in this soul machine to where we were saving everybody, but then nobody was giving anybody the recognition. So then how the hell could you see the Spirit in you if you can't even recognize Jesus or Christ or any of us when we walked up to your door? I'm a remnant. And most likely you don't even know what that means. So go look it up. Or not. This is a time on earth where we get to learn exactly where we all fucked up. We get to get the answers to everything down here that's ever happened across human history, or what you call human history, besides what came before that, whenever they started burning the books in the medieval age, or the witch hunts. All that can be explained. All the secrets of Egypt, that's all coming out now. There is no time. It all exists at once. And whenever you change any significant timeline, you will see the ripple throughout all dimensions until it completes. Well, I'm telling you right now that our crew just saw and exterminated the entire prison system, the soul machine on this planet that was hooked up to Disney propaganda that was all stolen in the German war. Because the Germans had just stole the right beings in order to get them the information to do it. And you're listening to the one they put in a hypobaric chamber under Texas A&M in order to do some of it. COVID. You know what co means? Corporation, commerce, cocaine, collaborative, I don't know, cow. What word starts with CO? You can let your mind think that it's not all connected, but it is. It's a phonetic charge of the C and the O. OC, Orange County. Oculation, oculus, the eye. COVID, was basically this world was at a 0 point. Everybody's DNA was clean. And when you walked out of your house, whether you knew it or not, you had a road to follow, yellow brick road. The beings with the right perception, with the right little change up at the top of this egg, all existing because they had an extra view that no one else had, but they didn't have all of it. They didn't have 365 degrees. They only had 360, and the 5% is what changed and saved our ass. I think that's all I have to say right now. 1246, 1201, 301, Quantum 4. And for all those that have been healing these traumatic wounds within themselves, and no matter, because I'm going to end it with this. The 144,000, the angelic army, comes from 100 beings. 100. Those 100 beings were the beings over space-time that were mummified. Mostly. From the Egyptian line, and then from an Essene line that everybody wanted to forget about and label it Mormons, and put the Essenes into a Mormon system, which all had a reason for a space and time, except for because everyone forgot about it, then it was sold off in so many different directions that it ended up all being used against you. I command that Scientology and Mormon and any religion now delete off the energy of all angelics. All religion, I command now, all the spells be shown to everybody as they read, as they hear it. I command that you hear the truth of it all. You stop giving the power to the beings and understand that even Jesus can lose his mind whenever you send him too much power, too much control, and nobody even knows who he is. There is no more secrets. There is nothing to hide. There is no way to hide. You can't hide what you're thinking. You can't hide your subconscious. You can't hide. You cannot hide. And that's even from yourself. Because whether you don't care, God does. Source does. We do. You know why? We know what's been going on down here. We know that your mind has been manipulated more than you ever knew, especially since the year 2000. This is a get out of jail free card. There's only one that you're really ever going to get. If you got vaccinated, then you know what your lesson is. Stop giving control of your body to beings that then you want to be controlled by. Y'all are all bitching that now you can't go here, now you can't go there. You've got to have a vaccination to go to Disneyland. You got to have a vaccination to work in a company over 100 people. You have to have a vaccination to go on a ship. Well, right now, I would say stay the fuck away from that shit then. I recently went downstairs and my dad was watching this ancient Egypt thing. He always is. I always walk in right in here exactly what I need. Do you know when the first battery was made? Do you know how that battery was made? I think you need to go look it up. It only takes a couple of compounds in salt water and shaken to the right stir, and you have a battery. Unbeknownst to you, the whole world and human DNA was being used as a battery. It is money, it is power, it is Wi-Fi, it is what the fuck it is. And what RNA and what that vaccine did was make you a bigger battery. Which means there's more charge coming to you, which means everything's going to be heightened in the lower lines. Now, even that God and Source is going to use as a teaching tool. We healed through the vaccine. Now, those of you who were vaccinated, you know why? You have an opportunity because you are going backwards in shadow. You are going to experience in your DNA what you need to do in order to get out. But you are going to have a heightened of it. You know why? Because you're about to get zapped like the rest of us starseeds that were holding up all the karma off for you, especially the RH negatives. If you have a positive bloodline, you don't know shit about sacrifice, pain, trauma of your line. I'm sorry, not in this lifetime. You don't. You don't. If you think you do, go talk to, if you're an O and you think you do, go talk to an O negative. If you're an A and now I'm not saying that you haven't lived through some shit. That's my point. Just when you think that there is no level but below you, oh, hell yeah, there was. It's by physics. RH negatives were made in order to clear the karma of the rest of that race. Why? We had a lot of shit to clean up. All of us that were the original 100 monads, we played the roles of some dark villain shit down here. And then we had to come clean it and clean our soul and get out of it so that we could understand and teach it to you now. We're Arcturian. What the fuck do you think this planet is? You think that we're not all connected? You think we're just down here running around like little fucking balls, not connected at all? But yet you want to claim your family name, yet you want to be your family name, but yet you think it's not connected to any other? Wake the fuck up. Now, it ain't no pity contest either, because that's not what it's about. In fact, not at all. It's that you have to see it all to clear it. So if you have a positive bloodline and you're not talking to a bunch of RH negatives, because I bet you all turned us away because you thought that maybe and perhaps it was our fault. Well, now they need to be your new best friend. Anybody that you've shunned because a lot of stuff has happened to them and it's messing up your football schedule and it's messing up your little teacher service day or whatever the hell, you're fixing to see, because you are gonna have to live it. There ain't no other way for you to get out of it until you do. The only way that you can now get out of it is to speak to the ones who have lived it before and heal from it so you don't get traumatized back to it. But if you got vaccinated, now you have to heal your own DNA. We already came in and healed it for you. We already gave you an out. Do you know why we had to give you an out? Because all y'all got vaccinated and we're in one bloodline. So basically, you killed Christ again. You chose Barnabas. It happened. Accept it. And see it for what it really is. Or not. For those of us that have had to relive and recount and see the amount of horror and death in order to even show up and bring you a compassionate message about it, we're the ones that you should be supporting. We're the ones that you need to be praying and giving your energy to. The ascended on this planet. The group of warrior angels, demons even, because the amount of sacrifice that we've had to do in order to flip from one side to the other, because there weren't too many playing the game. In fact, the only ones that were actually playing the game against the true divine warriors were the Indian race that was worshiping Kabbalah and had been training their children throughout all existence to try to come and take it from us. Take it up with your leaders.